Hey everyone. So I was watching this YouTube podcast that I really like called A Life Engineered, and they were discussing the crisis we're having with junior engineers not being able to find a job. And I wanted to jump in and give you my point of view because I think some of the stuff they're saying is factually incorrect. But also, I just think that it's worth discussing because this is something that a lot of people are concerned about. So let's have a listen.
To get a job right now with the layoffs that are going on. But I think the elephant in the room is entry level and junior engineers,
Yep.
right? And the demographic bomb that I see is essentially senior engineers used to be junior engineers, and so there's a pipeline effect that sort of happens. And in 5 years, when whatever plays out in terms of AI with all of these other companies, do you think that there's going to be a lack of senior engineers? And I have my reservations about whether AI and intelligence or whatever will get to the point where it will replace a senior engineer. But assuming that it doesn't, if you were a junior engineer today or you just graduated from college, how would you think about getting yourself into the market?
The job market has been brutal for entry-level engineers since around 2020, right as COVID started. During COVID, companies stopped hiring junior engineers because with full remote, no one had a clue on what to do with them. Until before COVID, you hired entry-level engineers and you paired with them, you gave them a mentor, or you just had people be around them and they kind of picked up, the work. And with remote, people were like, we know we cannot do that, but putting a junior engineer in a full remote, that's a bad idea. So they stopped hiring. Then, just as the lockdowns were ending, and the in-person hiring was coming back, and some actually some junior hiring picked up. That's when we got hit. This was around 2020 or 2022 or 2023, just as junior hiring would have gone back to normal as before. We got hit at first with a lot of the large tech companies were doing large layoffs because they realized we actually overhired during the pandemic. So when they're hiring, they didn't fire. In fact,
So this is a very important point that people tend to forget today is the job market right now sucks 100%. It's really hard to find a job, but it used to be really good. Like during the pandemic, I remember us desperate to hire people, and we would hire people that honestly did not have the correct skill set. And what happened is when business wasn't as good, and we had to get rid of people, those are the people we fired because honestly, we shouldn't have hired them to begin with. So it's really important to remember that when it comes to getting hired in our industry, it's very cyclical. When the times are good, they're really good, but when the times are bad, they're also really bad.
Facebook for 1 or 2 years, they canceled their internship program, and they had never done that before. And just as we're coming back from the cuts have been done because of the overhiring and the tech business is back and booming, and now we have AI, which is helping actually a lot more investments going in. There's now a question with a lot of decision makers everyone is saying I don't believe it, but they're saying AI is a junior engineer, and now business leaders or less technical people are hearing this and they're I guess let's hold off on hiring because their existing seniors can just pair with AI. And we're in this.
So this is something that I hear from a lot of people, and I just call bullshit on it. AI is not going to replace junior engineers. And it's not that AI is not amazing. It is amazing, but people forget you don't hire junior engineers because you expect them to write really good code. It's in the title, junior, right? If I just wanted to hire people that can code and are really, really, really productive, I wouldn't go for juniors, regardless if there's AI or if there isn't AI. So telling me that there is a tool now that can write really good code at the level of a junior, maybe even of a senior, that doesn't change the reason why I hire juniors, because I wasn't expecting junior engineers to be productive when it comes to writing code to begin with. The reason you hire junior engineers is because you need to have a future workforce in your company. People who are now mid-level or senior or staff, sometimes they'll leave the company. Believe it or not, people are not going to stay working for a company for the rest of their life. And then if you don't train the next generation, what are you going to do? But also, you have to understand that seniors don't show up. They need to learn somewhere. So that's why we hire juniors, because we understand as leaders that we need to build the next generation. And our expectations when we hire them is that they don't really know how to code. So it's really funny to me when people are saying that companies are not hiring juniors because AI can do it better. Duh. I mean, most developers can do it better than a junior because they're junior, right?
This really weird situation where just entry-level hiring for 5 straight years has been just really down. People who I'm hearing are getting jobs are at really good universities, have really strong pedigree, which is kind of ironic because right before the common thing was don't get a degree, just go into tech. There's so many jobs, So those ones and people who have connections, and the big companies are still doing internships. They've cut back, but that's a solid way of going in. And I was just talking, like, I don't have an answer, but like I talked with GitHub CEO a few days ago, and he said, I've heard at GitHub, they said they're increasing entry-level hiring, junior hiring. And I asked him why they're doing this. And, they're building Copilots, so they're seeing all this. And he said, like, for two reasons. One is, like, the young people who are coming out of college, they're like AI native. Like, they use ChatGPT without thinking. They're not afraid of it. They love it. And he said, like, we want people with that mentality. And this fact,
Well, just to jump in, AI native, come on, AI has been around for 2 years. 2 years, not 20, not 10. So nobody's AI native. And really, when you think about it from the corporate level, really in the past 12 months, maybe 18 months, we've really started integrating AI and maybe kind of judging performance in terms of are you able to use AI? But AI changes every freaking couple of weeks and months. So if you were native in ChatGPT 3, that doesn't really help when it comes to ChatGPT 5.1. So I'm not really buying that particular argument.
he was saying we need to change our interview loop to like encourage people to use like Copilot and everything. Obviously, they haven't done that yet, but they're going to do it. And like some of the very forward-thinking companies, like I consider GitHub really forward-thinking. And yes, they're building AI tools, and their business is doing good and solid. But the fact that they're increasing hiring entry-level engineers tells me they know something. And also, one thing we should add is we keep focusing on big tech and scale-ups and startups, and these are the places that can afford to not hire entry-level because they can afford seniors and they pay better. But the place where entry levels used to come from is consulting, developer agencies, and these massive companies like Accenture or Cognizant or ThoughtWorks or some of those. And so they're in trouble right now because AI, like I've talked with one of these big companies which employ like 50,000 people, and an engineer told me that their CEO on the all hands told them that they're having a problem right now. Their customer is all of FANG, right? All of Facebook, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon. They have like developer teams in there, and several of these companies came back and said like, oh, so we've heard that you've had 30% efficiency with AI, which actually on today's build, Accenture literally said we are 30% more efficient with AI. Said, we've heard you've said that, so we want to pay you 30% less for the same work. And they're like, excuse me? And no, every single one of them says like, we heard you're more efficient with AI, we will pay you less. And these companies, so the CEO at this company was trying to be cool. They're like, don't worry, we're not going to lay people off right now, but the reality is either we get 30% more business or we need to be 30% more lean eventually.
So in my opinion, that CEO, whoever he's talking about, that promised their customers that they can be 30% more efficient with AI is a bit of an idiot, because that's not true. That's not true. People have to understand something about AI. AI, when it comes to coding, and you want to do something like an MVP or a demo, it's not 30%, it's 30,000% more efficient, because you can really vibe code your way into a demo or an MVP. But there's a big difference when you have to have production code. And anybody who released production code, that sometimes writing the code, that's actually the least amount of time you're spending in terms of pushing to production. You have AWS, cloud servers, you have to do QA, you have to do automation, you have to gather all the feedback you're getting from customers, you have to fix bugs. That's not something that having AI is going to significantly improve your productivity. There's a big difference. People are really focusing on how AI can write very fast demos, but I don't think they truly understand that when it comes to production, it's actually very frustrating when you write code to realize that your part is writing the code is not as significant to getting it to production as one might think.
These places that hire the most junior engineers are actually very much under threat of just getting less revenue. Whatever revenue they have, that's many people they hire. So I think if you're looking into breaking an industry, it might not be a bad idea to either if you're thinking of like, should I finish with my bachelor's or go to my master's, try to get a job. But if you don't, just go for a master's. Like the industry, I think should.
No. No. Don't just go get a master's right after you got your bachelor's because you couldn't find a job. That's a mistake. You're going to spend a couple more years in university and really not learn what it means to work in a real production environment. Get a job. Maybe you're just going to have to get paid less, and you might have to do jobs that, I don't want to say beneath you, but very, very junior jobs. But no, don't just go and get a master's. Get experience, understand what it is, what it means to be a developer. And then if you really like it, or you feel like you need to get the master's degree for a promotion, or you just want to learn more about your field, then get the master's. But I don't think that's a good advice to just go and get your master's if you're not able to find a job after you finished your bachelor's.
Kill the clock. If you're in a situation where you might not have a job or you're at university, probably the best thing you can do is build an app, scratch your itch, or look at a problem that use AI to help you build a web page or React Native app, launch it. Like if you're not doing that, I'm pretty sure you're going to have a hard time getting a job, because like now that AI tools are out, like the reality is that, companies don't like to tell this because I don't think they realize, but soon enough they will want to hire like the new generation, people who live and breathe these tools, and you're not going to learn at university, and all your peers will be like, oh, I've done like this and this courses, did algebra, I got an A, my GPA is like 4.0, great, but then there's the other one like, oh yeah, I launched. So even before AI, like I just talked with an engineer at OpenAI, Jambi, who's going to be on the podcast. This was before AI, but when she graduated, she already had 4 production grade apps on the App Store. She was lucky enough to get into an accelerator with the university, and they did it. But this was before AI. And now with AI, like what is stopping you? Like you can vibe code a thing, and what is stopping you from releasing it and tweaking it, and also showing that you gave a lot more like love and care to it, and it's actually like just putting a game out there that is playable or any of it. Suddenly that shows that you actually are someone who can build stuff. And I think this is what companies will increasingly hire for. And right now universities and colleges are like way behind. So take advantage. Like obviously complete your classes if you're in an institution, and if you're not, especially, then there's no other way but build.
With AI, vibe coding, all of this stuff.
There's something to what he's saying, but it's really important to understand that when somebody like me interviews you as a junior for a junior position, remember, I'm not as concerned about your technical skills, because I know you're not going to be productive. And by the way, you're not going to be productive not because you can't code. It's because learning how to work inside a corporation, inside a startup, inside something that has to deliver production codes takes time. It takes time. So it's not just about your ability to do a sorting algorithm or to write in JavaScript. That's not as important. But if somebody's able to come to me and as part of the interview show me a project they did and talk about the project, I'm really impressed, because it shows me social skills, it shows me managerial skills, it shows me project management skills. These are things that go way beyond your technical capabilities, which definitely makes it makes you a much more interesting candidate.
I think of it like fast fashion. You're just like, oh, I need a shirt. And so you go buy a $3 shirt, and then you wear it, and then if it breaks, you kind of throw it away. So I think the goalpost shift in terms of like what's impressive. So it used to be, okay, well, if I made an app, that might be impressive. But now I think the thing that's impressive is like, can you earn $1 from somebody that you don't know?
Yep.
If you launch an app and you can collect $1 from, and that changes everything. Hey, you put that on your resume. Hey, I did an app. It helps me name my pets or something like that. And you've got a couple hundred users or whatever, and then you have some sort of like revenue coming in. So much more impressive than like, hey, I vibe coded a to-do app. You know.
Yeah, and I agree with him, because what you're showing here, again, it's not about your technical skills. It's the fact that you were able to get it into the store and get people to buy it and manage that. That shows so much potential for where you'll be able to be in my organization in a couple of months, years, or whatever. So it's not about your technical skills. It's about the managerial project management skills that you're showing that goes above and beyond the fact that you're just an engineer.
In React. Awesome. I think the thing that I'll end this part on is like, with every step change in technology, the number of developers has increased. And so I worry a little bit, or maybe time will tell, about whether the amount of developers increases with AI. I think maybe it does, because a bunch of people that don't know how to code or were right on the margins now are able to produce code. But I think if we're in a spot where the population of software developers increases, then I think if you are a junior or entry-level person, you're going to stand to benefit from that.
Don't forget.
So I'll end here. I want to end by saying that the 80-20 rule always applies, which means 20% of your people do 80% of the work. Every place I worked, that was just a fact of life. So it doesn't really matter how many people you have at day's end. There's going to be a small group of people who do most of the work. So I predict that the number of engineers in the world that companies need is not going to be reduced significantly, because there was never a really good reason to have that many engineers to begin with, if you only evaluated things based on the engineering productivity. If every company was just about engineering productivity, they would fire 50%, 60% of their engineering, and not only would their engineering productivity not go down, it will probably go up. So companies hire engineers not just because they're truly evaluating the productivity of each person A lot of it has to do with politics. A lot of it has to do with ego. And a lot of it also has to do with the fact that you just don't know how many people you're going to need. And if you have the money, you just overhire. All right. That's it for today. Thank you very much. And I hope this helped you.